Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to your Sunday night live stream. I'm Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by fellow Lifetime Longhorn, and of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Bobby Burton, and the estimable Jerry Hamilton. We're here to answer all of your questions, address any questions or comments you may have today. You guys know how it works. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. We'll talk some recruiting on the show, talk ton of Texas football, even. Of course, if some of you guys want to get into, we can talk about Texas men's basketball a little bit as well. That's been a hot topic among Longhorn fans coming into actually this weekend. So we'll get into a lot of those things. Thank you guys, wherever you're joining us from. We appreciate all you guys joining us from all over the Longhorn fandom. We appreciate you guys joining us here for a Sunday night live stream. All right, gentlemen, lots to get into on the show today. Anything that other than, do you want to talk about Rodney Terry straight off the bat here, or would we rather start off and get to that later on? Because
it's NFL Combine week, so
there you go.
By Thursday, Wednesday, interview processes up at the Combine. CJ is going to be up at Indianapolis. It's NFL.
So Jerry, let's be honest. Let's go. What are your thoughts on Rodney Terry at this point?
I like the Combine.
Let's just break the seal and rip that Band-Aid off.
Cisco Diaz has a question. Vic Schaefer went to see Aaliyah Chavez. Sorry, Bobby.
There you go. Keep it positive.
On Aaliyah Chavez, look, she led her team to a lot of people thought Lovejoy might beat them, but she led that team to a big win, and now they're in the state semis, and they're playing, I think, at Hardin-Simmons Tuesday. But yeah, Vic Schaefer was at the game that made ESPN. That Vic was at the game of the number one ranked player in the country. Look, Texas Tech is putting up a big old fight. And the question is, in this one is she going to stay Nike, which I thought she would all along, or is Texas Tech going to find a way to get that thing done at the end of the day? We'll see. But I think Texas is there's been a pretty good feeling around Austin about this recruitment, but we'll have to see how it plays out because, again, she won't sign until April. So we got the whole month of March left. So if they win this week, they play in a state championship game. Obviously, if they win Tuesday, they play in a state championship game, obviously Friday or Saturday. And then you get into the recruiting process for the whole month of March before she announces something in April. And as far as the men, Juan Garza, we'll get to your super chat because I have a thought on that. Look, their backs against the wall. I think the team, RT, obviously their backs against the wall right now. They got to win 3 of the last 4 to get in the tournament at 8-10. And so that will require winning a road game. And those road games are Arkansas or Mississippi State. And Mississippi State's a pretty good basketball team. And Arkansas obviously has really good pieces. Year one under Cal, but they lost Boogie Flam for the year. They're a 5-star point guard. So they've kind of had to retool a little bit without him. But the last, there's 4 games left. Texas has to win 3 of them. And it's at Arkansas, it's Georgia at home, it's at Mississippi State, and it's Oklahoma at home, who just beat Mississippi State and scored 93 doing it. So it's a backs against the wall for the Texas team, and obviously Rodney's seat is pretty warm.
Yeah, I'd say it's very warm, and that's with all due respect to him. I think he knows it. I mean, he's not blind, and the performance yesterday in Columbia, South Carolina was abysmal, and I think he would probably tell you it's not up to his standard or the Texas standard. So to your point, Jerry, these last 4 games of this season will likely decide not just the Longhorns tournament hopes, but perhaps even more than that. We'll have to wait and see. Also, men's baseball team, Rod, swept Dartmouth. They didn't do it by blowing out the Big Green, but they did win all 3 games. So that was big for them. Also, and I didn't mention this earlier today, and I should have, congratulations to Bob Bowman and the men's and women's swim team. They won their SEC championship. First ever for the men's and women's to participate and compete in the SEC. And, of course, they are national rated every single year. So I will say this, though, the SEC has a little bit better history in swimming and diving than the Big 12 in Texas's opponents there. So it was a nice win for both those squads.
Nice. Good stuff there, Bobby. Good shout out and that's also That's what puts pressure on Rodney Terry as well. I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's just the standard, as Sark has said several times. It is the standard, and even CDC has talked about how the expectation is that all the sports are, top 10 caliber sports and competing at that level. So it's I just think it's a lot of pressure on Rodney Terry and Texas men's basketball team right now to play to that standard, at least to end this season on a strong note. All right, let's get to Juan Garza. He's got a super chat here. We'll get to your other questions, of course. We got some other topics we'll get to that are Texas football related. But Juan says, what do y'all think of John Lucas to Miami? Your thoughts, Jerry?
That would be what. First of all, I've known Jay since high school, covering him, and he initially went to Florida, then transferred to Texas. Obviously, John Lucas's son, Texas grad, loves the Horns, was on the staff for a while there, then went over to Kentucky and on to Duke. But I think it'd be awesome for Jay. It's hard to say. Look, some people say, well, what's he done? He's never been a head coach. I mean, somebody's got to take chances on these guys, is the bottom line. Now, Miami's a big job for your first job because there are expectations there. Larinaga got to a Final Four. Even dating back, Frank Haithco had a couple NCAA tournament runs there too. So it's not a job that comes without expectations because they will be an NIL player on some level in basketball recruiting. But I think it'd be great for Jay. And I've heard that the same thing. It's looking good for him, but we'll see when everything is actually announced. Early on, the names I'd heard for that job were Mick Cronin, Sean Miller were two of the guys really being considered for that job. But I think it's great for Jay. And look, with his connections with John Lucas, JL3 on the AAU scene, I think he's set up to have a shot there to attract the players he needs. And I think he'll run a good offense there for Miami. It'll be a fan-friendly type of a team and stylistic approach to basketball, assuming he is the guy. But I think it's awesome for Jay. Jay's a great dude, man. Great dude.
Good stuff there, Jerry. I wanted to get to this comment here from AJJ. I thought it was interesting. I want you guys' thoughts on it because I think they may be close to something. He says, we are an elite basketball coach away from having a top 5 coach in every sport.
Wow.
Now that I think about it, now just talk about the major sports, but even some of the other sports, of course, even if they're not the main revenue generating sports, how close is Texas to having a top 5 coach in every sport? Because AJJ may be on to something. Because Schlossnagle is right; he's considered one of the best. Is he a top 5 coach college baseball?
Yeah, I think he would be for
Sark
sure.
is right on the verge, right? Sark is right there on the cusp.
He got to be on the fringe now. I mean, he wasn't when they hired him, though. To
Right.
Jerry's point about taking chances on people.
That's true. I agree with that.
I think that, I'm trying to think. Women's golf, they just hired someone for that. She's won a national championship at Arizona.
Volleyball, yes.
Kelly may or may not be in that top 5. She hasn't really finished in the top 5, but she's certainly taken Texas women's soccer to a different level than when she what it was when she first got here. She's made them competitive on a national level, in my opinion. Look, I think Texas is. I talked to CDC over the weekend. You guys, I don't know if you saw the interview I had with him or not, but it's very clear that he's got an idea of what he wants Texas to be, and he's got marching orders to go do that, and the capacity, the wherewithal to go build it. And he's got the keys to the kingdom, and he wants good coaches in every single sport, and he thinks that that's the key to the whole shebang. Texas will take care of Texas and help recruit athletes, but ultimately coaches are where the buck stops with and gets those guys to play or women to play in a certain way. And that's why he spends, I think, so much of his time literally with coaches as opposed to other aspects. And so I feel really good about where Texas is at from a coaching perspective. Is Texas an elite men's basketball coach away from having one? Look, I mean, I'm not trying to write Rodney Terry's obituary here, but we got to see what's going to happen. I mean, I don't know. what is Chris Del Conte going to do if they don't make the men's tournament? I think that it's most likely that Rodney Terry is not the head coach any longer at the University of Texas. If he gets into the tournament, then how far does he have to go? Because Texas doesn't. I mean, they let go of Shaka Smart for just making the tournament.
Yeah, wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough. And so, what is that? What are the parameters, right, for that? And the other thing about basketball now, in all sports almost, Jerry says this all the time, you can be competitive almost immediately because of the transfer portal, but particularly so in basketball, where it only takes 5 players really, or 7 or 8, whatever the number is, and how a coach defines that team, you can turn them around in a year. Football may take 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it was, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But in basketball, you could turn it quick, really, really quick. And so at that point, you know, the decision for a basketball coaching change could be easier. I actually don't think it'll be easy on anybody, but it could be more likely and more successful if there is a change, because you have a chance there to remake your roster immediately.
Yep.
I want to bring this one up real quick because we didn't mention this. I failed to mention this, Rod. Women's basketball, we ranked number 1 tomorrow. Pretty much that. I think David Rawls is on it. Notre Dame got upset by NC State today. NC State's got really good guards. I mean, they're a quality team. But Notre Dame lost to NC State today, so Texas will likely be number 1 in the AP and coaches poll tomorrow. I don't know when the last time Texas women's were ranked number 1, but they should be tomorrow.
Well, they play tomorrow night. Is that right?
Yeah.
Trying to think who they have. I'm looking up who they have right now. They've got Georgia at Georgia tomorrow.
Their last 3 games are bottom dwellers of the SEC. So if they just handle their business, then they will be the SEC champs in year 1. In regular season. David Roll says 0-4, 2004 the last time Texas was number 1 in women's.
Great job, David Ross.
Good job, David Ross. I didn't know that answer.
Damn, that's good. That's man. But speaking of top 5 coaches in every sport, that's one of the Vic Schaefer has proven it. Let's thank our friends over at Rogue Shop before we move on to some super chats here. We appreciate our friends over at Rogue Shop and our partnership with them. They are fantastic folks. We actually had a member of the Owen Texas football family recently tell me they swear by Rogue Shop. They were having some issues with sleep deprivation, couldn't get to sleep, tried a couple of items from Rogue Shop, and they tell me, boom, actually help them out with their sleep issues, and they may help you out with your sleep issues too. Maybe it's sleep deprivation. Maybe for you, it's anxiety issues. Maybe like me, you got a lot of aches and pains from football playing days or just from old age in general. Our friends at Rogue Shop have a variety of different products that may help you, and we can help you as well. Use the discount code ONTexas. Use that code and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at Rogue Shop, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. That's rogueshop.com. They ship nationwide, so no matter where you are in the country, our friends at Rogue Shop can get their fantastic products to you. Make sure, like you said, to use that discount code ONTexas for that very special discount. Rogue Shop has it all, from oils and creams to flour and gummies. That's rogueshop.com, and use that very special discount. As a matter of fact, told my mother-in-law about the Rogue Shop too, and she's like, "Oh, actually, I may be able to check it out," because she's, she needs some items, some CBD items, things like that. Rogue Shop can help her out, so I told her about it. So she may be a customer too coming up here pretty soon. So check it out, rogueshop.com. All right, let's get back to the super chats here. Let's get to this one here from Reckless Trey. Says, "Where are we with Keys? Multiple visits locked in."
Tristan Keys, the 5-star wide receiver from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Look, there's some recruitments that Texas is going to need to play out, similar to Jamie French, similar to Josiah Sharma, Myron Charles, and that guys that haven't been to campus before. The plan is for Tristan Keys to visit sometime in the spring, which I think that's the plan on Tristan Keys' side of things and the Texas side of things. They're very much recruiting Tristan Keys. Then if they get him on campus, or when they get him on campus in the spring, is it actually a really good fit? Both parties think, okay, yeah, this could be a really good fit. Then you'll see an official visit happen. Now, when that date would happen, because he's got other visits, nobody can say that right now. But I would say this about this Texas class, and Derek Cooper's the same way. This is Tristan Keys. I mean, one of the freaks in this class at wide receiver. Have you seen Tristan, Rod?
I don't think I've watched this young man.
Oh, this dude's a stud. I'll just let this tape roll while I blabber, and then you can give an opinion on him. But Derek Cooper's the same, the running back from Chaminade, Madonna. He's announced his official visits. But look, Chad Scott's already made contact with Derek Cooper, the 5-star running back out of Chaminade, Madonna in Hollywood, Florida. They're going to keep recruiting these guys. Texas just wants to get these guys on campus and then see where it goes from there. Sark, Texas isn't really worried about being number 1, 2, or 3. They just want to right now. They just want to get these kids on campus and then get to the official visit process. And last year, I mean, we got to remember, headed into the spring, Jamie French, Myron Charles, Josiah Sharma, Justice Terry never got on campus till the season for the Georgia game. There was, I think, 8 or 9 guys in the Texas class that hadn't been on campus until the spring or summer prior to their senior season. So that's where it's at. Texas will recruit these guys hard. They're going after the best of the best. Try to get these kids on campus and see if there's a fit after that. All right, Rob, this guy's really good.
Yeah, he's got. How big is he? What's his?
6'2.5", about 185.
Man, they're getting bigger. Yeah, Sark's recruiting bigger receivers, man. I see why, man.
There. Rod over there at 5'10" saying, yeah, they're getting bigger.
They're getting bigger, man. And they're faster. This dude's acceleration. His acceleration at this release it's scary. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Off the line of scrimmage. Yeah.
I think he's the best receiver in the country, Rod. Just so you know. Of the ones, I think he's better than Chris Henry Jr. Who's a bigger kid. Yeah, I think he's tremendous. Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Hey, Jerry, stepping in, and Rod, if you had more to say, I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Hey, Jerry, Javion Osborne, I'm going to bring that up because it's the first time we got a chance to talk about this. He put out his official visits, but did not say who he was visiting on June 13th. He had said at one point, or someone tweeted from his account that he was not going to Texas on June 13th through 15th, but now that might be a possibility again. And has he talked to Texas running backs coach Chad Scott since that tweet?
Yeah, I believe they talked Friday evening. So when that was the first time Chad Scott really called recruits, because he called running back recruits. He called Xavier Crowell, and Crowell immediately came back, said he's taking the official visit. I think just got, like I said it on TexasFootball.com. Some of this stuff I'm not getting real. I'm not riding the emotional wave with some of these kids this early. It's February 20. It was February 20th or 21st when now all that happened. I mean, Xavier Crowell came out within an hour of choice leaving on social media saying, I'm not visiting Texas anymore. Okay. Well, Chad Scott talks to him and his family members, and now he's going to visit again on the 6th to 8th. Javion Osborne, I still think there's a chance. I've talked to multiple people. I still think there's a chance he visits Texas. He's had a conversation with Chad Scott, and he put out his official visits, and he left June 13th through 15th as to be determined. So will he replace Texas with somebody else? We'll see. It won't surprise me if Texas doesn't end up back on that visit list in the same date, but we'll see.
Isn't the 2026 class of, you're talking about just Texas players, talking about Texas recruits, Texas prospects from the state, the running back position pretty deep this year is supposed to be as deep as it's been in a little while, right?
Yeah. So look, I mean, Texas right now is recruiting 2 of those guys in state, Javion Osborne and KJ Edwards, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot of really good backs in the state. There's some really good backs in the state. There's a lot of depth that I think. Linebacker, running back, obviously offensive line, I think pretty much every year in Texas, and 26 is off the charts on offensive line in Texas. But I think running back and linebacker are really deep in the state in 2026 compared to some past classes. So there should be a number of colleges that get really good backs out of Texas in the 2026 class. They just got to evaluate it well. But Texas is on 2 of those guys.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Let's get this super chat from Scott Sturgeon. Thank you very much for the super chat. This is a good question. Maybe for you, Bobby. Player comp for Parker Livingstone.
That
is a good one because it's got his frame is a little. It's like,
who it reminds me of a little bit. And this I saw him in a guy named Jonathan Baldwin. I don't know if y'all remember him or not. He played at Pitt. Was first round draft pick of the Chiefs from Aliquippa. He in Pennsylvania. And I know he's just that long-limbed.
Yep.
Got surprising speed on you. You think he's maybe stiff. You think he's not going to have any speed. And then all of a sudden he's by you and he's got these long arms that just get on top of you. And he's got good ball skills. Now, Jonathan Baldwin's a first-round pick, but he never did much in the NFL. I think Parker Livingstone is a somewhat similar to that, and I'm not saying he can't be better in the NFL, et cetera, but that's the body type, if y'all remember him. I'm going back 10, 15 years because I think I saw him in San Antonio at an All-American game. But long-limbed, surprising downfield speed, and then a 50-50 ball winner. That's who I compare him to.
Somebody in the chat has a pretty decent one. Ryan Nelson. I like this. And
Ryan Nelson. David Stills. David Stills is too big, dude. David Stills was 230, 225.
211 in the combine. 6'3.5", 211 at the combine, ran 4.57.
And it was Parker Livingstone. Was it like 6'2", 6'3", right? 6'3", right?
6'3.5", 6'3.5".
Y'all remember Ty Streets?
Yeah.
He's a little bit. He had a little wiry body like that, kind of long, but you know what I mean? I know what you mean, though.
Wide receiver.
Yeah. Here's the thing I will say about Livingstone that gives him a chance at Texas, a chance outside of the height weight. I think he did as good a job as picking up the offense in year one for a wide receiver as anybody that's come through recently at Texas. So again, that gives him a chance to hold down a spot this spring because look, we talked about what was the hard thing for these young receivers, Rod, is making sure people are covered, making sure you know the pre-snaps, the motion, right? Not costing your team 5-yard penalties, not running the wrong route and costing your quarterback an interception, throwing off the timing of the route. He is, and again, DeAndre Moore earned Quinn's trust really quick in that regard last year. I think that gives Parker Livingstone a chance because I've heard that he picked up the system and everything about as quick as a freshman receiver could. And that's always going to give you a chance to get on the field and stay on the field and be on the field in critical downs.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, right now he's a popular pick to be that third guy entering the circle of trust with Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Moore. But I agree. It's a challenge for the player comp, though. It's not easy because of his kind of wiry frame and the height, and then you got the speed on top of that. So
we haven't seen him catch a ball against the 6'2" corner with long arms yet either. So how does he react? We haven't seen him make those plays yet, right? So we're pretty much looking at him as a height, weight, all that sort of thing.
I think some people have seen him in practice, and he gets high marks. So, I mean, when people ask us who the top 3 receivers are on the roster, I mean, without hesitation, we say, Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, and Parker Livingstone. He is clearly ahead of the other 2 freshmen, and Aaron Butler and Freddie DeBose. The question is, with Khalil Lockett, Dalen McCutcheon, and Jamie French coming in, where's he going to sit after that, after spring finishes up here?
Right.
And where is he going to be in that category? I was looking at Jonathan Baldwin, 6'4", 228 at the combine. He's a big guy. But the point is, I think Livingstone's he's tall, man.
Yeah.
He is.
I think David, you remember who was the wide receiver from Wichita Falls that went to Florida, Jerry?
David Nelson.
Does he remind you of him a little bit?
A little bit. Yeah, it's not a bad one at all, Bobby, actually. That's not bad at all.
David, he lanky, Rod.
Lanky is a good word. That's the word.
Surprisingly quick, but not super quick.
But if they get going straight ahead, they can run. They can get away from it. They can leave you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, and David Nelson coming out was. I'm trying to look all this up on the past NFL. He was 6'5", 217, 4'5".
Damn, that's skinny. That's skinny. 6'5", 217.
4.54 on the 40, 38 vertical. He had a hell of a 3-cone at 6.79 at that size, is crushing it. But so 6'5", 217. And when David Nelson came out of high school, he's listed at 6'4", 190 or 6'5", 190.
Wow. That is lanky. That's lanky. Like, that's a great word for it, Bobby. All right. Let's thank you for the super chat there, Scott. Super chat from this one's from Juan. Another from Juan. Thank you, Juan. If I'm Texas, I go all in on Billy Donovan. Thoughts?
People have always brought him up, but he's shown no interest in coaching college basketball again. And it's been for other jobs too. He's a very because he was one of the unicorns in college basketball for me, coaches in my generation. Look, I mean, he was at Marshall, obviously played for Rick Pitino, who I think is the best pure basketball coach going for many years now. And I don't, I mean pure as far as the game. Okay, guys, before y'all start commenting in the chat. But Billy Donovan played for Pitino's Final Four team at Providence. He was the head coach at Marshall when they came to Texas with Jason Williams, and then he got the Florida job, and Jason Williams went with him, and he went on to go to 3 national title games and win 2 national titles. And he had a keen eye for evaluation and putting those pieces together and playing a fun style. He had a lot of Pitino's pressing qualities. Which now he obviously he has changed. He has shown his ability to adapt, even though he's at a tough organization, in my estimation. But he makes $6, $7, $8 million a year, and he's shown no signs of wanting to come back to college because he's been brought up with all these big jobs when they open. You know, a lot of North Carolina fans think he'll be the next Carolina coach if they go away from Hubert Davis or if or when, whenever that happens. But he's shown no want to get back into the college game. That would have to be a big change for him behind the scenes.
Yep. All right. Thank you for that, Jerry. Ben has this super chat. Thank you, Ben. Says, thoughts on the recent trend of recruits announcing they won't be official visiting schools. I think it's not a good look. Also, an update on Jamie French.
I would agree with it's not a good look. Like, why, if you're just not going there, you just don't mention them. But, you know, also I will say this is high stakes. And this is the first, I know for a fact, I've interviewed players Rod, I interviewed you when you were in high school. When it's your first time to ever have to speak publicly and people are going to have to read what you say, whether it's on the internet or in a print publication, like you don't know you don't know the decorum, I guess is the best way to put it, right? And I think that happens sometimes to young kids and parents even as well, where they don't know what they are supposed to say and not say. So they'll tell you how they're feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of it. Jerry, what about an update on Jamie French? I know you talked to some folks over in Austin. What do you think?
Doing really well, obviously, for what people have seen so far, which is very little football related, right? He goes through all the workout, you know, our-chested guys going to work out and all that. But as far as the workouts with Torrey Beckton's strength staff, he's doing very well. He's going to make a big jump quickly because he had some natural strength to him, but he was the typical Florida high school kid. And he had a really good coach at Mandarin. I mean, 1 state title there, but it's just a setup. The facilities aren't great there. It's not the same as Texas and Georgia. You don't have the same athletic periods every day. You don't have a higher strength and conditioning coaches like you do at these high schools in Texas and Georgia now. So these kids come out raw physically, but he had some natural strength to him, especially in his legs coming out. And he had a natural wiry strength to him as well in the upper body. And I think he's going to make big gains in a hurry at Texas. And I'm hearing he's doing really well. And those kids, one thing about Florida kids, especially those wide receivers and DBs, sorry, they play in a lot of grass fields. So when we watch this, I say this all the time, but you know, in Texas and Georgia, these kids are playing on the sport turf fields every Friday night for the most part. So one thing I've noticed is these kids in Florida, if they play in a lot of grass fields, it rains a lot, the fields aren't the best condition, those kids are kind of misjudged in terms of their speed. I think Jamie French is a little faster than maybe even the people that recruited him, the colleges, multiple colleges that recruited him thought he was. That's one of the takeaways early on.
All right. Thanks for that, Jerry. Another super chat. Bastrop Bear. We appreciate this one. Says KJ Ford. Just KJ Ford. Question.
Duncanville defensive end, Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, not a guy that there's been a big push for. And with Lylan Clark coming in as the edge coach, he's taken over. We mentioned this. He's taken over edge recruiting as well. That doesn't mean he does it alone. He'll get assists from PK, Kenny Baker, Sark, but he's kind of over edge recruiting now. He offered Kamari Brooks in Georgia out of North Oconee. That was his first offer. But I think they're kind of reshuffling and looking at this edge board, and we'll see who they push for in the state of Texas and how hard they push for guys. I think right now some of the bigger pushes might be out of state at edge. From what we're
the only one in state, Jerry, that they seem to be pushing for is Jamarian Carlton. Would you agree with that assessment at defensive end?
I think they like him, but I'm not sure it's,
Yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, I got you. A lot in Georgia, some in North Carolina too, by the way. Yeah. Don't forget about the state of North Carolina. Texas went out there, and Chad Scott has ties to the state of North Carolina. That could be an in as well there too.
All right. Thank you guys for the super chats. We appreciate it. All right. A couple of questions here. Got some good ones for you guys. How about this one from Michael Simpson? We were just discussing wide receivers. Seems like a nice question to tag on to that conversation. Is Sark moving to bigger receivers because he's realizing that those small, speedy receivers get jammed too often by physical SEC DBs? This is interesting because there's clearly, it seems, a premeditated, intentional movement for bigger athletic profiles at the receiver position. No question about it. And even this year will be the first, or at least for now, the first roster without an absolute world-class speed demon on there, right? You don't have no Bond, no Xavier Worthy, but the receivers they have been recruiting seem to be guys with these, like I said, larger bills who can win 50-50 balls downfield potentially. I do think, I don't know if that's the reason, Michael, and that is a great theory, by the way. All right, that's a really good theory. That could be it. I haven't looked at the numbers on how much press coverage Texas faced in the SEC and how much man coverage they faced. That could be it. But I agree with you. The bigger receiver thing is definitely happening. The theory behind it, yours is very sound. I'm not sure exactly what it is, other than maybe Sark just feels like, because think about the fast receivers. What they haven't necessarily been able to do is stretch the field vertically successfully. Like Bond was one of your worst deep targets last year. Xavier Worthy and Quinn Ewers couldn't get on the same page with deep ball. Now, that could be a Quinn Ewers issue. That's a Quinn Ewers issue and not necessarily a Sark offensive issue, because I think we all have hypothesized we're going to see the deep ball come back with Arch.
And back shoulder fades.
Exactly, right? And Archer have bigger targets to throw to. So I'm not sure if we know why, guys, it's happening, but I agree with Michael. It is happening. We've talked about it and observed it. But I think your theory, Michael, I'm going to do some research. I think it's a sound theory. I do.
Yeah, and look, I think they're moving to more of that. But I'll also add to this. If there's a Naeem Burrows level kid at the Bowl School in Jacksonville in 26 who's visiting Texas June 20th, who's probably going to run into 10.5s this spring, depending on the weather in Florida, should run into 10.5s at some point. He's 5'11 and a half, 165, 170. So if there's that guy out there, Sark's always going to recruit him. I just don't know if they're going to recruit as many of them is the question, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to major in taking jets like he has, to your point, Rod. Like, I think I'm not saying he got over infatuated with that, because I don't necessarily think he did. I agree that Michael's point and what you were talking about, Texas has a proclivity right now to get longer arm, bigger receivers that can win one-on-one matchups some which way. Because I always go back to that, talking to some guys in the NFL and what they do, whether it's not necessarily GMs, but scouts that I talk to. And they always talk about what they really look for at tight end and receiver is not how fast they are necessarily or how big they are. Is can they be a mismatch of some sort? against a defense. It doesn't matter how. To them, it literally does not matter if you're super fast. That's great. That's your mismatch. If you're super tall and you have long arms and you're 50-50, that's your mismatch. If you're super quick, they just don't. They really actually they can work with anything as long as you have a mismatch. If you don't have a mismatch, then you could just be covered by an O or an X on the chalkboard, and that's the problem they have. And so I think that's where Sark's going. He doesn't want people that can be covered by, an X up on the chalkboard. He wants somebody that can provide a mismatch, whatever he calls it.
That's why I remember saying it about Ryan Wingo, to your point, Bobby, that when I'm a DB, I got to defend the elite trait. Like if it's Xavier Worthy speed, then, hey, man, I'm going to turn my hips a little bit early on that. I mean, I'm going to give a little bit of a better cushion on that because I'm defending the elite trait. When I got a guy like Ryan Wingo, he's such a well-rounded athletic profile. There's like 3 elite traits I got to defend. I got to defend the size and the wingspan and the speed and the jump ball ability. You know what I mean? So I can kind of see him going with, to your point, receivers that have more elite traits to have to defend. And then even for Rod B, who's a great cover man, it's still a matchup. I'm still at a matchup disadvantage. Because who can defend all those multiple elite traits like that? So I feel exactly where you're going there. I actually like that synopsis. All right, thank you, Michael, for the question.
Somebody asked about wide receiver in the portal during this conversation. I want to say this: it's going to have to be the absolute right guy. If the absolute right guy, they're just not going to take somebody. It's going to have to be the absolute right guy out of the portal this spring.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, they don't need 3 like they needed last year.
Right.
They've got 2 returning starters effectively. So they don't need 3. They could use 1 more adult. And I'm not saying that Parker Livingstone, to Jerry's point earlier, he's talking about how he took to the coaching and the route running, et cetera, so quickly. I'm not saying that he's not that kind of player. It's just that would be the one guy that you have to see if, you can't just go into the season with just 3 guys. I would think you'd want more. So that's where it's at.
I'm with you on that. I think they've had so much success with transfer receivers, though. So much success. And they'll have another successful draft with transfer receivers this year. All right. CE says, is Texas recruiting 2026 Jet Walker from Georgetown? 6'2", 215 Cam Scatabo 2.0, but faster.
So I told Matthew this before the show. We were going to take this question. We only play guys normally that Texas has offered, right? We're going to play this guy because people have talked about him in the chat. Am I saying Texas is going to offer him? I'm not. The short choice did go by to say hello to him. He is a big kid. He can really run. I think he was at Lampasas and moved into Georgetown. Really solid player, had a big year, runs to a lot of daylight, but he is a good player now. I mean, he's got offers. Jet Walker, and we'll see if Texas if Chad Scott goes back through and maybe takes a second look at him, depending on what happens at the running back position. But I mean, he is up to 18 offers now. I want to give the kid credit because he started off with a lot of. He has an official visit to U of H set up so far, but West Virginia offered him February 3rd before Chad Scott got the Texas job. He did offer him. So Chad Scott will probably go through and take a look again. San Diego State has offered him. Obviously, Houston's offered him. He doesn't have a lot of P4 offers, but what I will say is he's a good player, and he's starting to get more looks. But he's one of the guys Chad Scott had offered at West Virginia. Now he's wearing a different polo now. But I wanted to show because a lot of people have asked about him in the last 2 or 3 weeks and late during the season. We never played his video. We always just play guys that Texas has offered. But this kid's a good player. He'll end up being a really good player somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. Good stuff there, guys. All right. Getting back to the questions. How about this one from Kenneth? It says, any word on injured players, Vosick and Baxter? And also this adds to Michael Simpson had a question. The next one here, with Baxter potentially out until well into the 2025 season. If Sark doesn't go after another running back in the portal like Jaheim White, then who is running back 2 behind Wisner and Gibson? Those are good questions. I think are kind of related, talking about injured players. So which one do you guys want to take it, and starting with Vosick or Baxter?
I could do that. So Vostik actually had shoulder surgery. He is rehabbing. He should be ready to go theoretically for football season. Don't think he's going to be ready to go for spring ball. Okay. As far as Baxter is concerned, they are still trying to get him ready by the start of the season. Will he be full go by the start of the season? I don't know. Very severe injury. We documented it at the time. He didn't just tear his ACL and MCL. He also tore his PCL and LCL, I think. But he had a bad injury. Okay. Now, I am told that he is rehabbing really, really well, but they're not going to rush the guy back. You're just not going to do that because you want that to be right before he gets going. That being said, you have a guy like Trey Wisner, who's the incumbent at the position. You also have Jarrett Gibson and Christian Clark. Christian Clark coming back from a Achilles. He should be back by football season of next year or of this coming year. Then you have James Simon coming in and Ricky Stewart. The question I have is, are they going to look at Jarrett Gibson, James Simon, and Ricky Stewart this spring and then make a decision whether or not they need another running back? I think that's probably what they should do, is make that decision after the fact, because if they don't know yet 100% what they have in Simon and Stewart, even though they probably have some inkling now that they've been on campus a little bit. But until they actually take reps, I don't think we can really answer this question. I don't, and that's my personal opinion. I do think that Chad Scott knows what Jaheim White can do and can't do. So that may be part of the answer too. But I think Wisner and White may have some similar styles. So I don't know if that's 100% there.
Well, and I've said this. Tyrese Barmer asked about Lance Jackson. I want to mention running back to the portal. Lance Jackson's doing well. I think his before and after photo, like from when he arrived in August, is going to be amazing to look at. So hopefully Texas doesn't do that, but maybe we look at a before and after photo, because I think that guy's going to be a monster physically. One thing I'll say about portal running backs is, I know people have asked about the ULM running back, the running back from Tulane. I think the tough thing for portal running back recruiting for Texas is, you ever have 1,000-yard rusher returning? I mean, it's not these guys that when they jump in the portal, Ahmad Hardy from a ULM or somebody like that. Ahmad Hardy went to Missouri, right, to be the man. I don't think Texas is super attractive to some of those guys. I mean, because maybe if a Jaheim White jumped in, he's 5'7", 190, does he fit Sark's scheme? He's a really good player. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be 1,000-yard rusher at West Virginia with C.J. Donaldson leaving. Like, are they going to leave that situation to come be the number 2 back at Texas and be in a fight for the number 2 back at Texas? And they're good players. What if Jarrett Gibson makes a big leap year 1 to year 2? What if C.J. Baxter comes back 2 or 3 games into the season and he looks really good? I'm not sure it's a real favorable spot. The running backs that jump into the portal, I think they're looking for an NIL deal and they're looking to be the man. And I don't know if that's really possible at Texas. It would take a different type of cat to come into this Texas running back room right now.
I don't know that every running back, though, is looking to be the man. Keyshawn Judkins didn't go to Ohio State saying, I'm going to be the man.
Yeah.
I mean, they had Travion Henderson there. Now that's hopefully, to your point, Jerry, Texas is the aberration because they want to go win a national championship.
Yeah.
And so that's what Keyshawn Judkins had with Ohio State, right? I want to be part of this high-octane offense and compete for a national championship. Therefore, I'll go split time with Travion Henderson. That makes sense. That's what Texas has to hope for. But to Ahmad Hardy, he's going from ULM to Missouri to go, to maximize NIL, in my opinion, and be the man.
And be the man.
Yeah,
and you gotta have a right fit, is my point, and then you might get that, Jerry.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. Good points. Let's get to Christopher here, who says, without the spring game and opportunity to climb up the depth chart, do guys anticipate an abnormal number of O-line hitting a spring portal?
Ooh, it's possible.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's
he has not had a huge Roddy hadn't had a huge amount of attrition there, but
No,
there could be something to that. We'll have to wait and see, right, Jerry?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Look, if a Nate Kipple goes out and grabs a number 2 guard spot, then some number 3s are gonna be saying, "Man, I got passed up by a younger guy."
always bad news. Yeah.
So we'll have to see how it plays out, because I've heard Nate Kibble's that had a great redshirt year.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I mean, because that's another benefit for the programs without having the spring game. You ain't got to renegotiate with a lot of guys, out of the spring game about hitting the portal, that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll see. That's a great point. And O-line has done a great job in terms of retention. Even when having starters obviously returning the last couple of years and still keeping a lot of guys in that O-line room, they've done a really good job with that. But a lot of opportunity now with those 4 starters leaving. So we'll see if that maybe clarifies some playing time for some of those guys. All right, another question here about spring game. Will no spring game hurt depth players?
I don't think that hurts. I think that helps. Will it hurt the players that have depth? No, because they're going to have practices all through spring ball, and so the depth chart is not determined on the field of play during the spring game. I mean, I can think of maybe once or twice that's happened. And for example, last year, I think Terrence Brooks had a really bad spring game, and Texas is like, if you want to go test the portal waters, you go right ahead. You know what I mean? But that is very, very rare. Very, very rare. It can happen, but it's rare. And so I don't think it hurts them at all. The coaches will see them each and every day in practice and have a better feel for them. The thing that I do worry about, and Jerry and Rod, like Trey was Trey Owens doing that when he was playing 3 versus 1 on scout team during the spring? What he did last spring game, was he doing that in spring practice? Because he had a hell of a spring game, right?
Hell of a spring game. Awesome spring game.
And so, but there's not really a scout team in spring football. So he was just the 3s versus the 2s, or 3s versus the 4s, et cetera. But the 3s rarely go against the 1s. And he went against the 1s a couple times. Maybe that hurts him. I don't know.
That's a good point. I don't remember anybody winning a job in the spring game, though. You're right about that. Like, there were some spring game stars, but I never won a job as a result of having that awesome spring game, in my opinion. So that's a valid point. All right. How about this one? AJJ says, is Ryan Niblett staying with the running backs? That's a good question. Because I know he was a little bit of last year working with both. This year, do you need him at wide receiver or more at running back? Running back obviously had a ton of injuries last season, so you needed him there. Do you need him there now?
I think he's staying at running back, is what I understand.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that you need him there, but I think he's a boutique running back. Mm-hmm. Sweeps, catches the ball out of the backfield on swing.
Keelan Robinson.
I don't. Mm-hmm. The question I have is. And look, Keelan Robinson is fast, but what was really amazing about Keelan Robinson was 2 things: his toughness, like he's a tough dude, and his acceleration. Like Keelan Robinson, what did he run 4.4 something at the combine? I mean, he wasn't like Xavier Worthy fast, or even Adonai Mitchell fast, but his acceleration was as good as any of them.
I agree.
In my opinion, I don't know that Ryan Niblett has that level of acceleration. Like he has more long speed, maybe, than Keelan Robinson, and I don't think he's as big as Keelan was. So, and Keelan really didn't just make his name at running back; he also was a tremendous returner as well as a tremendous gunner. I mean, he was fantastic as a gunner.
No, the best thing about Keelan Robinson's development was that early on when he first got to Texas, they never threw him a pass like beyond the line of scrimmage. He almost had that same kind of DJ Monroe feel about, well, we're not going to throw it to him downfield. And then it kind of developed into throwing those screens down the field and then some of those wheel routes, stuff down the field. And he really did become a weapon. That's when Texas, between Bijan, Rojo, and Keelan Robinson, I don't know if their multi-back sets were lethal at that time. I think they want to get back there, and they will when all their guys are healthy and they figure out what their roles are in the backfield, because they have those kind of athletes back there now. But, oh, man, you had such versatility in your weaponry in the backfield back then. All right, good question there, AJJ. How about this one? Speaking of run game, how many Longhorns get drafted?
I brought that up because we wanted to mention it's Combine week. Big week for guys coming up, Bobby and Rod. Huge week coming up with the NFL Combine. What are we thinking? We're thinking 11. Right, headed into the Combine, may get drafted.
14 are going to the Combine.
What are we? We're thinking 11
to 12.
Big number, maybe 12 high end.
Yeah, 11 to 12, I would say right now.
All right, so who gets left out then? Of the 14 going,
Hayden Connor, maybe.
Yeah,
Hayden Connor. Okay, that would probably be the pick if it were on the board in Vegas, right? Hayden Connor. Not saying it will be. I'm just saying.
And I agree. What is how does the NFL see Vernon?
That's Vernon a good one. Yeah. And what does Jaden Blue run? Because this is this running back draft is supposed to be one of the deepest running back drafts in decade. Like, it's a really good running back draft. And I love the elite trait we were talking about earlier. He's got it. If he goes out there and runs a low 4.3 or something, somebody's gonna be salivating over drafting that dude. So, but he can't run like Keelan Robinson. Like, he can't ever look fast on the field and run a 4.5. He's gotta look fast on the field and then the 40 time back up and track with what we see on film. If it does, he's gonna get drafted. But that's another one too, questionable. So I think those are the three: Broughton, Connor, and Blue that you got to watch out for. I like Blue, but it's still at a low value position. And it's not a premium position in a very deep draft. D tackle as well, guys. Dane Brugler and Darryl Jeremiah saying this is one of the deepest D tackle draft.
That's why I brought up Vernon, because it's a tough year to get drafted, and he physically doesn't have the natural build a lot of those guys do. He doesn't look hip to toe like a lot of those guys do.
Yeah.
So he needs to have a strong combine, in my estimation.
I would say Jake Majors needs to be in that conversation, because I go back to centers. First of all, not a lot are drafted. Second of all, I go back to Lyle Sinline every time I think about this. He had not picked.
Yeah.
Starts 10 years in the league. There's a lot of guys out there. Jeff Saturday was an undrafted free agent that started for 14 or 15 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
That is one of those positions that they don't necessarily, they won't draft them unless they need one, really. So they don't stash them. You know what I mean? They're not trying to stash them. If they are, they're trying to make sure they can play guard too. And I'm not sure Jake Majors can play guard. That's where I'm at on that. I think he should be, and I think he'll make a team. I don't know if he'll get drafted.
I agree with you on that, Bobby, because it's not don't ask me why, but it ain't a premium position. They don't pay centers a lot of money, and they don't draft them very high either, to your point there, Bobby. And that's a great point about him. Can he play another position? Jake Majors. No. He's more than a capable center, but not a lot of versatility there. He's just a really highly intelligent too, high football acumen. Started more. And he does have the record for starts, right, in Texas.
Yes.
And he plays through. People don't realize this. He played through an ankle injury his entire junior year?
Yeah.
After OU, he did not. People would say, "Oh well, dude, he was hurt."
Yeah.
And so anybody that questions his toughness, he'll pass that with flying colors, right?
Yeah.
The question is, whether or not physically he's what they want.
It's a good point.
I don't know the answer. I really don't.
And when they put him on a dry erase board and they ask him about ball, he'll pass that with flying colors too. They'll love it. But you're right.
Yeah.
That's not what the draft is all about, as we know. Let's thank our friends over at Rogue Shop. Thank you, CB. Good question there. Let's thank our friends over at Rogue Shop as we get close to the end of our live stream tonight. We'll answer a couple of more questions, though, before we get out of here. But thank you to RogueShop.com. Rogue Shop bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Rogue Shop has a variety of different products, folks, from oils and creams to flour and gummies. They ship nationwide, no matter where you are in the Orange, Texas football family. Our friends over at Rogue Shop can get their products to you anywhere in the country. And if you have issues with sleep deprivation, or maybe you got aches and pains because Father Time is winning right the battle against you, like it is against all of us, maybe from your playing days like me, or maybe you're dealing with some anxiety issues, our friends over at Rogue Shop have a variety of different products that'll help you deal with a number of different ailments. Actually had a member of the Owen Texas football family come and tell me and thank me, and I said, don't thank me, thank Rogue Shop. But they thanked me because they said, thank you for telling us about Rogue Shop. They were dealing with some sleep issues, and now they sleep like a baby thanks to a product they found over there at RogueShop.com. So maybe it'll do the same for you. Check it out, RogueShop.com. Use that discount code Owen Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends at RogueShop.com. All right, let's get to the question here from John. This is a good one. We discussed this a little bit, but I think John wants us to dive into it. He says, guys, based on our projected O-line starters for next year, will our run blocking be better than last year? Yeah, the previous O-line, and obviously they had a lot of continuity. They were great at a lot of zone blocking schemes, and they were actually one of the better pass blocking units in the country last season, where they didn't really have I see glowing numbers in terms of the analytics. They couldn't block a lot of power concepts really well, gap power schemes, the counter, things like that. They didn't have as much success in generating explosive plays on the ground there. This is a different offensive line, different traits, different skill sets. 4 new starters on the O-line. Will they have a different strength as an O-line in the run game rather than the last group? That's
different types. Different types of guys. I will say this, like I think Kelvin Banks, other than Kelvin Banks, Trevor Gooseby is going to be, I think, as good a pass blocker almost as Kelvin Banks was. Okay. I think that as of right now, I would think that Kelvin Banks would be a better run blocker. Okay. A little bit more punch at this point in his career. He's a little older. The thing that I would say, though, is that at every other position other than right tackle as well, but at guard, center guard, DJ Campbell likely be a little bit better. I think Cole Hudson will have a little bit better punch than Jake Majors, and move people a little bit more. Not saying that Jake Majors, again, isn't that possible NFL starting center. And then left guard, Hayden Connor, and I've used this term a lot. He shields people more than he moves people. Yeah. And that's so power run game, you're not really going to have, that's not what he does. And so left guard, I think, could be a big piece of that puzzle. I think center could be helpful. I think another year of DJ Campbell being, another year starting. That interior run game in particular is where I'm hopeful. The tackles, look, Cam Williams, nobody's going to be able to block as well and seal people inside and just collapse entire sides of it. I mean, Cam Williams could move 2 people and did repeatedly. So I think that's the problem. So interior, yes. Exterior, no. For me.
Yep.
I want to bring this up. I asked Matt to bring up a tweet, but we haven't focused on it yet. But Dia Bell has returned to the field to start doing quarterback workouts again. Obviously, he got hurt late in the season in a playoff game, but I just wanted to show this to all you guys. He's back on the field, getting ready again. He'll be getting out in the 7-on-7 soon. He got really lucky with that injury. Didn't have to have surgery. I mean, it looked bad. Didn't have to have surgery. Got very lucky. He was in a boot for a while. But the 5-star quarterback commitment for the Horns, I always love the weather in South Florida there, don't we? He is back on the field. He'll be playing 7-on-7 shortly. He'll be going through spring practice. But there's your 5-star quarterback commitment in 2026, Dia Bell, back on the field. He's been throwing for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. He posted something a couple of weeks ago when he just got back on the field. But good to see Dia back. So now maybe a good time to get Raja back on the show. Talk to Raja now that Dia's back on the field, and maybe talk to Raja about his freshman son that's averaging 24 a game in basketball down there. Regard.
No talent in that family.
Not at all.
Just casually average 20 in another sport, like just averaging 20 like it ain't no thing in your second best sport. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Dia Bell, one quick thing, he needs to keep his right leg on the ground on the follow through right now. He's going to lose some RPMs picking it up too soon. You could tell. Yeah. That's what happens when you throw on air. I'm just going to say that when all you do is throw on air, you pick up bad habits because you don't really have to rifle it. You know what I mean, Rod? Like he doesn't. Yeah. There's no DB there, so
no urgency.
He's getting his regular footwork down, but he's missing his follow through footwork because he doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so I guess that's why Quinn's gonna look great on there too.
Yes, you know it.
No, everybody's saying that Quinn's gonna increase his draft stock a ton. And Jerry, you brought this up as well. That when he does his workouts throwing, that he's gonna look amazing just throwing the rock because it's effortless for him. His arm, everything's effortless. So he can make any throw. Doesn't matter what it is from any off platform and make it look really, really good. But somebody in your face, whole different conversation there. All right. Thank you guys for all the super chats and all the questions. Guys, any last words for the folks before we get close to the end of the live stream here? Any issues you guys wanted to, or any topics you guys want to bring up that we haven't yet to address?
No, I think Jerry hit it on the top at the top. CJ Vogel going to the combine for us this year. So this week we'll have a lot of comments and commentary from the Texas players there and see what they do as they go through the interview process. All of those guys, I think, are going to get interviewed at some level. And then Jerry's been breaking some recruiting news this weekend with a bunch of official visitors. That's going on. We got, we're getting ready to be back in football. We got about 2 weeks before I think spring practice is going to start, guys. That's what it looks like. So we'll see how that goes.
And yes, they've been mentioning in the chat that A&M baseball lost to Cal Poly today. I've got a read for the A&M fans tomorrow morning.
Oh no! Oh no!
Something special.
Oh no!
Whether it's Mando or Joy mode, it all fits after you lose to Cal Poly and you're ranked number 1 in baseball. I'll find a way to work you in tomorrow.
Hey, Bobby, real quick, one other thing though, because you did get a chance to talk to CDC. Is there any discussion about plans in place for a spring game event, like whatever it is going to be, jamboree?
Yes, he's going to. He thinks that he said mark it down April 26th. They're going to have some sort of fan activity.
Okay,
likely including the players signing autographs and him opening up Bevo Boulevard. Maybe bring a band out. You know how CDC likes to do those things.
Yeah. He's going to do it.
He's all about throwing a party in a good way. You know what I mean? And I think I don't know that there's going to be any football played that day, but he's definitely going to do something, and he definitely knows he wants to get the fans together over sometime this spring. That may take the place of the spring game, in my opinion. So
I like Jeff Howe's idea, man. You should go old school alumni flag football game. Bring out the old school guys, and then challenge the Aggies to come out and do it. Old school on old school.
I like it.
Hey,
Johnny Manziel out there. VY probably won't do it, but got Chance Michael do it. Somebody else will do it.
I got an idea for you, Rod. You could have versus A&M. You could go guard Mike Evans.
We want to win, Bobby.
No, it'd be David Boston. It'd be David Boston. It'd be David Boston. But no, look, Reggie McNeil would come out and throw the ball into the dirt.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be fun. We old guys like me would humiliate ourselves, but the fans, at least they'll get to see some players, some old school players, and there's some competitive juices going. There'll be a fight out there, I guarantee. We'll end up fighting at least once out there, easily. Guaranteed.
Yeah, he didn't leave all his incompletions on the field at Kyle.
Yeah,
got a few more left, so bring him out.
I'm telling you, man.
You could have just the Texas Longhorn spring game. One team versus the other, orange versus.
Yeah, you can do old, like one generation.
David Ash would probably come out and play.
Yeah, we can do we can just do an orange and a white one. Just be old school alumni. That's a good idea, man. I would be down to do that. That'd be cool. Strap on the GoPro, run and live streaming.
Yeah.
You know what? Yes. Hey, you know what? Hey, if that's the case, I got to be on my A game. I want to see y'all. I'm getting burnt, and then y'all looking at somebody dusting Rod B.
Rod, no. Rod's a pro. Rod, if you got beat, you know what you do? You'd pull your right hammy and pull up.
That's hammy. Oh, you know what? Bobby, all the DBs do. I'll put my hands up like, hold up, whose fault is that? Whose man is that? That's not my man. Who must be your man right there? That's all the DBs. That's all pointing at somebody else. All right, there you go. All right, thank you guys for all the super chats. All right, thanks, Bobby. Thanks, Jerry. Hey, we got all of your combine coverage. We'll be here at On Texas Football, guys. We'll have somebody boots on the ground there. We'll be talking about all the combine interviews and all the results for the Texas players they're representing. 14 Longhorns. That's a bunch of guys representing. So we'll be talking about that all week, of course. And anything that breaks, keep it here tuned to On Texas Football or ontexasfootball.com. All right, thank you very much to Matthew behind the scenes. He's a real MVP. Couldn't do it without Matthew. Thank you guys for all the questions and all the comments, all the participation. Thank you for the super chats as well. We really appreciate you guys. Thanks to Bobby and Jerry. And don't forget, if we missed any questions or comments, direct them to the guys over at Coffee and Football tomorrow, 8 a.m. at Coffee and Football. The Winning Drive, myself, CJ Vogel, and Coach Bob Shipley. That'll be tomorrow at 3:15. You don't want to miss that. So if we miss any of your questions, just direct them to the Coffee and Football crew or to the Winning Drive tomorrow. All right. Thank you to Bobby. Thank you to Jerry. And for Bobby, Jerry, and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.